Good morning and welcome to UUFM. Just some quick announcements. So the people on Zoom have been watching the announcement slides, and everyone here has announcements in their programs. But one new announcement we have is on October 29th at 7:30 p.m., there will be a benefit for the MAC. There will be actors and musicians, and it is called An Evening with Kevin Patchen. And there will be a preview of this benefit event next Sunday, October 9th, at the public library at 2 o'clock, where you get to learn more about Kevin Patchen and get a preview of this benefit event. So, and if you didn't have a chance to write that down, catch me or catch Frank after the service, and we can give you those details again. Now we're going to start the gathering song. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Manhattan. My name is Marissa Larson, and I'll be your convener today. I hope you've been enjoying the cool, crisp weather. I sure have. Jake and I did lots of yard work yesterday. And UUFM is a diverse, evolving spiritual community acting for a better world. Our vision is to be a vibrant, inclusive congregation, widely known as a safe haven and a force for social justice. All are welcome here. If you are new or visiting, we invite you to sign the guest book in the narthex. Every month, our service follows a theme. This month, our theme is courage. There are all types of courage, and throughout October, we will explore the various ways to be courageous. And now I'd like to invite Christy Launius to share an announcement for us. Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. I come from the Call Process Task Force to tell you a little bit about who we are and what we're doing and on what timeline, and most importantly, how we need all of you to be involved with us. So let's see. First, I want to tell you just a little bit about the call process. It has to do with formally deciding whether to switch Pastor Izza's employment from a contract with a known end date to an indefinite appointment. When Pastor Izza was hired, her contract included specific language that stated the shared intention of the congregation and her to move toward a relationship of call, whereby the congregation and the minister covenant to an indefinite ministry together. Her contract also lays out the timeline for this process, starting this fall and ideally concluding before the end of the year. So we are, this process was sort of preordained, if you will, and we are now launching it. The first part of the process, the call process, entails the board appointing a task force to coordinate the decision-making process. So that includes myself, Lauren Clement, Kat Colburn, Rob DeLong, Linda Johnson, and Mark Mayfield. So we are the group, and we were appointed by Amy Betts, the current chair of the board, and we met this past week. So we received our charge on September 28th. More about what that charge is. Our charge is to lead the membership in considering the question of a call and to recommend a course of action to the congregation. So our role is to gather input from everyone, ideally every single member of the fellowship. So that's how we'll make our recommendation, right? So we're sort of the gatherers of information and sort of then we'll meet and determine and make a recommendation based on what we learn. Right now, we just had our first meeting this past week, so right now we're working hard and on an accelerated timeline to figure out what questions we want to use to guide these conversations, and also determining dates and times and formats for them. We want to be as inclusive as possible, cast as wide a net as possible. So we imagine that we will both offer some face-to-face ways to gather that information, but also some via Zoom to try to accommodate folks. We imagine that some of them might be one-on-one just because of for convenience, but also some that could be small group format. Let's see. We'll be communicating with people, with members early and often. This message itself, we want to send out via email as well, so folks have it in addition, obviously, to hearing it today for those who are here in person for the service or on the service via Zoom. Our chair is Rob DeLong, so when this message goes out in print, it'll include Rob, a contact email address for Rob, so that if you have questions, you can ask him. One other member of the task force is here today, I believe. Kat is in the back. Is that you, Kat, in the back? Hi, Kat. Fellow task force member. All right, so that's all I have, unless anybody has a quick question before we go back to our regularly scheduled service. All right, I look forward to having conversation with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. So I'm Pastor Isabel Call, honored to be the minister here at UUFM. The service today is about courage, and that's our theme for the month. Later in the service, we'll have an opportunity to do a little bit of written reflection, and so those of you here in the sanctuary will find a piece of paper in your order of service, a blank paper, and should have picked up a pen, and there's also paper and pens at the back of the sanctuary. And if you're joining us here on Zoom, it would be great if you found a piece of paper and a pen for those little practices later. If you're here and you have a pen, feel free to leave it under the seat in front of you. So let's begin our service by noticing where we are. Acknowledging the land today means noticing the change of seasons, the drop in temperature, the sudden dryness of the air, the coolness, and the need for lotion. The ancestors of this place followed the seasons even more closely than I do. And I pause now in respect for their sacred relationship to the cycles of this place. And for the traditions still carried by their descendants. No matter where your people came from, they once followed the sun with their minds and hearts, and especially their bodies. In order to survive, their communities had to function fundamentally different season by season. Tuning into the earth and tuning into the community were integrated processes. So let's set an intention now to hear, smell, and taste this change. So to get our bodies involved in the intention, I invite you to rise in body or spirit, and we're going to sing the autumn verse of hymn 73. So please rise. And I hope to make this a new tradition at each equinox and solstice. So Renee will play through it once for us. Yes, okay, so there's a repeat of that first sentence. Thank you. You may be seated. May our seasonal rituals not only mark the passage of time, but prompt the awareness of change. It's not just another autumn, it's this autumn, here, now, with new needs, new calls. Don't just adjust the thermostat and stay comfortable. Let the wind tell you what you're needed for this season. Since the arrival of colonists hell-bent on ignoring the wisdom of place, our indigenous siblings have kept listening and responding to the needs of the earth. With hurricanes, like what we saw hit Florida this week, and droughts, heat waves, wildfires, species disappearing, our siblings know better than those who aren't listening that we're hurting and that we're hurting each other. We need the courage of the people indigenous to land, to listen even when the messages are terrible, and to claim our duty to respond. And now our chalice lighting. We just did it, yeah.
Is this live? Oh. Oh, or loud, or working, or I'm gonna sit on the floor. Oh, I might need help getting up later. In fact, I know I will. Okay, what's in my wonder box? We do this back in RE. We have a box on the table and we wonder what's in the wonder box. Porter, you want to open it and see?
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah.
It's a rock. It's a rock. Thank you. A rock is hard. What else is hard? Cement? A floor, if you fall on it? This is oh, your head? My head. Ouch. Yeah. This is a hard thing that I can touch and feel, really. I mean, it's really hard. But there are hard things that are inside us that are hard to do or hard to feel. Finding the courage to face scary things is kind of hard too, right? Like jumping into the deep end of a pool, or raising your hand and noticing that you're the only one, or coming up here to be a kid for a time for all ages. You know what's hard too? Sometimes, maybe, telling the truth. So I'm going to tell you a story about telling the truth. Once upon a time, a long, long time ago, or maybe just the other day, there was an emperor. The emperor decided, you know what? I don't want to be emperor anymore. And I don't want to rule these lands, and I don't want to have all this wealth, so I'm going to give it to someone else. But who should I give it to? Well, the emperor decided the way to make this decision was to give every child in the land a seed and ask that child to grow the seed. And then at the end of a year, everyone would bring their plants back and the emperor would judge, make a decision based on the plant. Well, the whole land came to get their seed, and maybe beyond the land that this emperor ruled. Each child got a seed, and they went home and planted the seed.
Ling was one of these children. Ling's mom helped buy the pot, get the soil, plant the seed together. And Ling cared for that seed every day, watering it and tending it. After 1 week, all the children started talking. What did your seed do? Well, Ling's seed hadn't done anything yet. So at the end of the month, all the children got together and started talking. What does your seed look like now? Well, all of the seeds in town were starting to germinate and grow, and each one was a little different. But Ling's pot, nothing grew. Ling was a little concerned and started singing to the plant, started watering it, maybe more, maybe less, chose some fertilizer. Nothing ever grew. Months, weeks, months passed. All the seeds in all the town started growing magnificent, beautiful things. Poor Ling's pot was empty. What to do? Well, Ling just kept caring for it, hoping, wishing, praying, going to psychologists to ask what to do about my plant, everything. Nothing ever grew. At the end of the year, the ruler, the emperor said, all right, everyone come back. We're going to make a decision. And the whole town arrived with these magnificent plants and all these pots, except for Ling. Ling was a little embarrassed. There was nothing in that pot, totally barren. The emperor looked at all the plants and all the pots and said, my goodness, you all did fabulous work. I think you all want very much to be emperor. But there's one child that I'd like to call up front. Ling. And Ling came forward. And the emperor said, Ling, what happened here? Sadly, my plant never grew. My seed never turned into anything. And the emperor said, well, you know what? Turns out I actually boiled every seed that I gave away, and none of them would germinate, ever, never. So all those plants you see, they didn't come from my seeds. You, Ling, are the only one who had the courage and the integrity to come as is. And for that reason, I'm giving you the kingdom and all my wealth. Because it takes integrity and courage to rule a land. And that's the end. Now we get to go back and talk about that, and you all get to think about it. Oh, Catherine. Shine your light in all you do. Love our hearts go with you. Grow in joy, our hopes go too. Learn in love and grow in wisdom. Shine your light in all you do. Here at UUFM, the offering we receive on Sunday morning goes to a nonprofit in our community doing good work. This month, our Helping Hands recipient is the Crisis Center. Here to tell us via Zoom about the Crisis Center is Kathy Ray.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for having me this morning and allowing me to join by Zoom. Yesterday, I started feeling a little bit under the weather, and everyone was so accommodating to let me do this remotely. So I just want to be here today on behalf of the Crisis Center to thank everyone for contributing to the Crisis Center and our work. As I was listening about the theme this month being courage, I was thinking about the courage that victims and survivors and people who need our help, the courage it takes to reach out for that help and those services. And it takes a lot of courage to reach out when you're experiencing abuse and violence in your home. I see many names that I'm familiar with, many friends of the Crisis Center and board members here with us today. And I do want to say, the Crisis Center, we have been around for over 40 years, providing free and confidential services to victims and survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault. This month, October, is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We have a number of events happening, and I do want to invite you all to participate in those. Showing your support for people in our community who are experiencing abuse and violence is important. These are our friends, our family members, our community members. And even though you may not always know it, it may be impacting someone you know. Those are all posted on our website, so I don't want to spend a lot of time on those, but we do have a silent witness ceremony coming up on Friday, October 7th at noon at the Riley County Courthouse Plaza. So I'm hoping you will come out for that. And then we also have our October 11th Because of You reception. We realize that we would not be where we are today. The services that we are able to provide 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, making those available at no charge ever. The new shelter project that we are in the final phase and finishing that up. We are having a reception to thank everyone for helping us get to where we are today. So the helping hands, I wanted to touch on the impact of our work, and I was pulling some numbers to share with you all today. Just nationally, 1 in 4 women and 1 in 10 men will have experienced domestic violence in their lifetime. And if you think about that and just think about the people next to you, the people on Zoom, and count off 1 to 4, that's a huge impact right here in our community. Last year, the Crisis Center, we served 2,778 people through our crisis hotlines and our face-to-face services. Our Safe Shelter, many of you are familiar with our new Safe Shelter project that we are finishing up. Last year, we provided 2,557 bed nights in our Safe Shelter, and we provided over 4,873 hours of services. So again, this type of violence is not something you may hear about. It's not something people always, it's not something you want to talk about, but it is happening, and it's happening to people we know. It's happening to people we love. And I want to share a quote that a survivor had left for us. We always ask for feedback. We always want to hear people's experiences with our services and with our shelter. And so I want to share this quote that a survivor left. She said, "I feel better coming here. I got connected with other resources to help reach goals and was able to talk to women here who knew about abuse and empowerment. I'm glad I got an opportunity to share this place with my children. Best sleep ever. Thanks. God bless." So the impact of our services, is long lasting. You never know when you may come in contact with a survivor, a victim. Connect them to us. We're here to help. We are 24/7 with a live response, and we're online. So please visit our website for more information about how to get people connected or about the events we have coming up. That's www.thecrisiscenterinc.org. And we're also on Facebook, where we just did a podcast with Dave Lewis on Friday on Philanthropy Today. And I just posted that if you want some more information about the events. And we hope that you'll join us in recognizing October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and continue to support our work and victims and survivors. So thank you all for having me this morning. And I look forward to joining you all in person soon. So thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. You can donate online to Helping Hands at uufm.net, then clicking the donate link and choosing the particular fund you would like to give to. And if you're here in person, you can put your offering in the basket in the back. I also invite you at this time to write down any joys or sorrows that you may have and hold them up. I can come by and collect those from you. And if you're on Zoom, you can let Karen Hummel know if you have a joy and concern, and we will share those later. And now it's time to hear Renee.
Thank you, Renee. We've come to the time in our service where we share our burdens and amplify our celebrations. Let's call up a spirit of generosity, vulnerability, courage, and compassion as we listen to what has been shared. We have a couple of joys here in the sanctuary. Larry shares his joy. He writes to have my daughter from Germany here. She and Elga have a joint project to bring German kids to Manhattan High School, and in the spring to take US kids to the German school in which my daughter teaches. So how lovely. Thank you for sharing, Larry. And then Susan Rensing shares her joy. My elderly aunt got through COVID unscathed and didn't infect my other immunocompromised aunt. So that's a huge relief. Happy for your aunts and happy to celebrate with you. Karen, any joys in Zoom land? And you're muted, so we can't hear you here in the sanctuary, Karen.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Joy from me. My niece on Pine Island by Fort Myers, Florida, has confirmed that her house on stilts is intact with no interior damage. Lots of cleanup ahead, but they have a house. They can't get to the house because they've lost the bridge connection, but someone on the island was able to go over and confirm and take pictures and so on. So that is a joy. And a concerned pastoressa has asked me to share that her cat Velcro has been in the hospital for a bladder blockage. He's recuperating at home and could use your prayers and good thoughts, especially so he starts drinking water. That's it.
Thank you, Karen.
Greenland.
Wanted you to share that instead of me. And we have a late entry for Joy. I remember this from last year. October 10th coming up is National Metric Day. 10-10, get it? So this is from Ken. So life is complex, joy and woe woven fine. And we witness that together, experience that together. So please join me for a moment of silence as we honor the joys and sorrows that have been shared and those that remain quietly within our hearts. And now please join in body and spirit. You can rise if you'd like for hymn 325. Love makes a bridge. It's good to sing together. Thank you. There's probably a way to ask Google, what is the most common sentence structure that includes the word courage? I see someone nodding. I bet if we were to do this, hands down, the winner is, it takes courage to ... fill in the blank. We've heard a few examples already today. And as I've found studying courage over the past month, there are many situations. Getting help for abuse or addiction, telling a parent you're gay, quitting a job that's hurting your heart, responding to an unplanned pregnancy, getting out of bed with depression, pain, anxiety, the world as it is, supporting a child who has come out, rebuilding after loss instead of giving up. We could say that all the important choices in life take courage. And so I want to give you a minute just to reflect on your own life, one or two choices you've made that took courage. And if you'd like, you could write them down. What took courage that got you here? We're not going to share these, so write whatever you want. Thank you. You're welcome to keep writing. You may think of others as we go on. So I'm not going to ask you to share these. This is for your own reflection. But we can imagine if we were to write all of these courageous choices, maybe on the wall, we could list them. And together, almost measure how much courage that took, an immense amount of courage here in the sanctuary and the Zoom room to get us here. The funny thing is, after all of that courage was taken, you probably still had a lot of courage left. And so, in fact, you probably had more courage. The things that take courage actually give courage. So maybe we should stop thinking about the courage it takes to do hard things and celebrate the courage it gives us. We need the courage that we get through moving through life to do what life brings us next. So telling the truth, not having a plant in the pot, and then being in charge of a kingdom as a result of that courage. That's going to take a lot of courage, but give a lot of courage. The upshot of reframing courage this way is that if we don't yet have the courage to do something, that's okay. We can build it up by doing something smaller. So take a look at one of your courageous acts that you wrote down or thought of earlier. What are the ways that you practiced beforehand with smaller choices? You may not have been conscious that you were moving toward that moment that you wrote down. You may have been trying to go somewhere altogether different, but you can see now how it played out. You can see who you were in the process of becoming. Let me tell you, becoming ourselves takes a lot of courage, and it gives us even more courage to keep becoming ourselves. When we're on the threshold of a courageous transformation, we, like caterpillars and snakes, have to let go of our skin. Snakes usually have to rub against a rock or a log to get it started. Caterpillars simply outgrow the skin around their head, but in order to claim their new form, both caterpillars and snakes have a lot of wriggling to do to get out of their old skins. In her book, Trusting Change, Reverend Karen Herring compares this process to what humans go through when we grow. She writes, "We may have many skins to shed, ideas too small or rigid for what lies ahead, habits, practices, or roles no longer possible or practical, identities, appearances, names, or relationships that do not fit who we are becoming, a reliance on old networks of awareness not attuned to the new conditions, opportunities, and threats of our changing environments." Reverend Herring asks, what are you being asked to let go of now? And so I invite you into a second activity here. I'm going to give you a couple minutes to make a list. What are you being asked to let go of right now? So here are her instructions. Try to be specific. If you list health, name what capacities or wellness your injury or illness is taking from you. If you list wealth or belongings, name some of the particular losses you expect or are already experiencing in your activities, comfort, or identity, and include things in your list that you'd rather keep, and also those that you may be glad to be free of. What are you being asked to let go of right now? So you can finish that item on your list and take a look through what you've written, either on your paper or in your mind, and notice any feelings that come up. You can give those feelings some respect, grief or relief, whatever else. And now, if you're willing, you can do this even if you didn't write anything down. Get a piece of paper, but with your paper, if you're willing, crumple it up in your hands. Yeah. There's a very satisfying sound here in the sanctuary. I don't know if that comes through on Zoom. All right, so hold this in your hands, in your lap, and let your body be comfortable. Maybe relax your elbows, but clasp your paper firmly. And take a generous breath in. And as you breathe out, maybe with a sigh, release your fingers. Reverend Herring suggests doing this 2 more times. So breathe in, closing your hands, and then breathe out, releasing them. One more time. What does your body tell you about letting go? Letting go, Reverend Herring writes, quote, can be either terrifying or exhilarating. Often it is both. Always it is a natural requirement of growth, end quote. In other words, it takes courage and it makes space for more courage to come in. So I don't think I'm going to ask you to do anything else with that paper. I'm curious what you end up doing with it. Do you just chuck it in the garbage? Do you smooth it out and put it in your journal? Is there something else you want to do with it? Some ritual as you reflect on what you're letting go of right now? So, our choices in life take courage and give us courage. They give us even more courage, I think. And that means we have courage to spare. And that's how we build our capacity to encourage others, to hearten them for their own becoming. I believe in this process because I've experienced it. I've always identified as the kind of becomer who, like the snake, gets itchy in my skin and starts rubbing on rocks to get it off. But if I'm honest, this isn't totally accurate. There are areas of my life where I haven't been so self-actualizing. In losing my able-bodiedness, I've had a hell of a time shedding the skin of unworthiness. Our culture and economy makes it known that you should pull your own weight, produce, be self-reliant. But in my recovery, I was surrounded by people who had confidence in the inherent worth and dignity of every person, regardless of their abilities. And these people in my circle had come through their own calamities with courage, and they now had courage to share. They encouraged me. With their support, I was able to wriggle out of several layers of ableism. We need each other to become ourselves. My injury disabled me, but I didn't so much become disabled as much as I became convinced of my inherent worthiness. In letting go of my prior identity, I gained something invaluable. The experience and the support I had moving through it gave me the courage to make meaning of my life that keeps giving me courage. And it gave me the opportunity to reflect on all the years of preparation I'd undertaken to survive and thrive post-injury. It gives me pause even today as I wonder what next courageous transformation I'm practicing for now. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to reflect here with your witness and for my many friends and colleagues who encircle and encourage me on a regular basis. Which leads me to ask, who is your circle? Who encourages you in your becoming, witnesses your meaning making? Who helps you wriggle out of your old skin? Here at UUFM, we are starting up a new practice of encouraging each other. So I'm setting up our new round of chalice circles this afternoon. So if you've signed up, you'll get an email from me today. and I'll still take signups. This actually, Karen, this might be a nice time to drop the link in the chat for people on Zoom to sign up. So the chalice circles reflect on the theme each month, and this month it's courage. Great. So if you're in a group, you'll get a packet to read with quotes and questions, and you choose a few things to focus on, spend a couple weeks chewing on them, and then you'll get together with your group. And the facilitator, who's volunteered for that month, will make sure each person gets a chance to share out loud the thoughts and feelings they've had on the topic over the past month. When one person is speaking, guess what the other people are doing? They're listening. And so for our chalice circles, we have really beautiful guidelines for the kinds of deep listening that makes encouraging space. And I'm sharing, whether or not you want to be in a chalice circle, these skills are just beautiful. So in brief, they're summarized as hold still, hold at bay, and hold up and hold out. So our Soul Matters participant guide explains them. Holding still is like this. In our groups, each member takes turns sharing before any reactions or discussion occur. We hold each other's sharing rather than react to it with comments or questions. Responding to each other with silence can feel awkward, but it makes room for the one speaking to hear themselves. It's about offering a spaciousness that allows one's sharing to wander without worry, so new insights emerge. You are all demonstrating holding still right now. I always feel supported when I offer my reflections to you. I trust that even if you disagree with what is said here by me or a guest speaker, you're here to listen and to experience your own reflection. Holding at bay happens in the second round when group members have a chance to describe how they've been impacted by what they heard in the first round. They hold at bay unhelpful reactions, analysis, and judgment. No fixing, no saving, no advising, no setting each other straight. This creates a safer space so we don't hold back our truth for fear of others nitpicking or opinions. The main ingredient for encouraging others is to listen to them with respect and compassion. The seasoning, used sparingly, is to respond. I have to remind myself of this because I really like talking, but it's a spice to be used sparingly. Hold up and hold out. The holding up or lifting up something beautiful you heard that makes you perceive the world anew. And holding out a truth of your own that now feels fresh and resonant after hearing the other person share. That's it. That's the spice. Holding up and holding out. So whether you do that in a chalice circle here, or you use these practices of deep listening in other areas of your life, you will create space for the other person to reflect and grow in service of the courageous work of becoming themselves. But these practices are also a part of your becoming. You will hear transformative beauty. And you'll also hear transformative things you don't like an opinion or a version of reality that just seems wrong to you. And it's your job to hold still and refrain from correcting or telling the person what to do. You will have a chance later to say what's true for you. This isn't a decision-making body, so there's no need for debate. What happens when you let someone just be and become? I mean, what happens to you when you witness someone else's growth? You won't know unless you try it. My initial intention when preparing this reflection was to answer two questions. When we feel uncomfortable with another person's words or actions, when should we pause and reflect? And when should we intervene? So as I wrap up, I'm going to try to answer these questions. They're big questions, questions of a lifetime. But here's my answer for today. When you're uncomfortable, you should pause and reflect if it's a safe space to do that. At UUFM, we strive to be a safe haven where it's safe. It's safe for you to hold still and hold your reactions at bay in service of each person's courageous process of becoming. When spaces are not safe, when harm is happening, the courageous choice, the choice that brings you forward into yourself, may be to intervene or to leave. If you've had lots of practice in safe spaces, you will be able to tell that a place is not safe. You'll be able to smell the difference. We know there's a lot going wrong in our world, and the lack of safety finds its way everywhere. So we're going to have to do a lot of leaving and a lot of intervening in order to repair the harm, and that's going to take courage. We can nourish that courage in circles of deep listening, where we make each other safe through showing up with integrity. And we can also bring training in, learn bystander awareness skills, practice interrupting microaggressions. These practices can help us realize our mission to be a safe haven and to make the world around us more safe. This is the season, I feel, for us as a community for listening. But you, on your own, tune in, find your own stillness, and answer the question for yourself. What is this season calling you toward? How can you draw on the resources of this community to realize the person you are becoming? So let's close our reflection time this morning with some more singing. Please rise in body and spirit. And we're going to learn hymn 1012, if you don't know it already, with the video. This is When I Am Frightened.
When I'm uncertain, will you hold my hand?
Just a brief announcement that next Sunday, October 9th, we will host guest speaker Reuben Ironhorse Kent of the Iowa Nation of Kansas and Nebraska. Reuben will share his reflections on the spectrum of being, the tones of courage we experience by seeing life as improvisation with intention. And if you would like more information about what he'll be talking about and his bio, that is available in our newsletter.
Thank you, Marissa. I'm going to share the closing words from the back of the sanctuary here to mix things up. Those of you on Zoom, trust, I'm still here. So our closing words are by Eric Williams. The world is too beautiful to be praised by only one voice. May you have the courage to sing your part. The world is too broken to be healed by only one set of hands. May you have the courage to use your gifts. And as we extinguish this flame, may you go in peace. May it be so. Amen. Blessed be.